Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to the first meetup of 2021. And very happy New Year to everybody. So, today we have a jam-packed session of three speakers, and we will be going over different topics like ScandiWeb, GraphQL, and SWAT, the site-wide analysis tool. So before we get started, we have a Magento Meetup group, which is Magento Meetup Nagpur. If anybody has not joined the group yet, please, I suggest that you join the group. We also have a Telegram group in which we share everything Magento, web design, web development, and everything in between. And finally, we have a YouTube channel as well, in which the recording of this meetup would be available. So the links to all of these would be posted by Milind in the chat. So if you are interested, you can just click on the links. Sponsors, we have our sponsors JetBrains today, who would be giving us 2 licenses to give away. And as usual, there would be a link posted in the group. You can just fill the form up and we will do a rapid, a lottery, and let's say who's the winner. Okay, so moving on to speakers. First up, we have Alfreds, who has joined us all the way from Latvia, right? Latvia, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, Latvia, right. So a little bit about Alfreds. He started development when he was 12 years old, started with Minecraft mods, moved on to Java mobile app development when he was 14, and finally got hired as a full-time software engineer by the age of 15. Nowadays, he works for a company called ScandiWeb, and he's the maintainer of the ScandiPWA framework. And today he is with us to introduce us to this awesome framework. Alfreds, on to you. I'll stop sharing my screen and you can start sharing yours.
What's the main issue with single-page applications? Well, the single-page applications commonly are coming just like a big package, which you need to modify yourself. And what you lose by choosing to go, usually by choosing to go with a single-page application as the front end, is you lose all of those cool features of Magento, like plugins, overrides, and themes. So you're unable to download a theme, for example, and then modify on top of it, or you can, but then you're not modifying on top of it, building on top of it. You're precisely modifying the source code or copying and having it twice. And what this leads to, usually with single-page applications, is basically copies of your front end, or this is the first issue. And the second one is inability to upgrade easily. So when upgrading, usually you have a lot of Git conflicts to resolve, and that's cool if the Git conflicts. Sometimes instead of Git conflicts, it's just conflicts. So when you start with a single version, you keep this version, and upgrading is pain.
So Alfreds, are you sharing anything? I can't see anything shared.
You can't see anything shared. Okay, no. Just like, but it's not essential right now, so okay. we haven't made anything.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. That's the thing. I just was very, very funny. It's asked me, you're sharing the screen, and I said stop it. So sorry. Yeah. So what we decided to do is to introduce how to solve the problem. We saw this problem and we decided we have to solve it. And what is the solution that we came up with? So essentially, our solution was to introduce 2 main concepts. And the first one is theming mechanism, which is done by overriding files. And the second one is to introduce the extension mechanism, which is done by creating a plugins. And all of those concepts are very familiar to us Magento developers, because we're like using it all the time. However, there are some quirks and features on the front end which we have to consider, and this is why we essentially stand out. There is nobody else in this kind of front end world who is really doing what we are doing here, creating an application with themes and plugins. So that's not all of the features. So before we talk more deeply about overrides and plugins, potentially I may show you the documentation for, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's behind ScandiPWA, so we know what else to expect. So I'll go to the link called docs.create-ScandiPWA-app.com. So what this page
we can only see the slides. Okay, now we can see it.
So what we're going to see here is that ScandiPWA, so we essentially have three main products. The ScandiPWA, then we have the Create ScandiPWA app, and then we have the Create Magento app. So what Create ScandiPWA app is, it's the driver behind ScandiPWA. So you cannot just create Magento themes and Magento storefronts using it. You can use it for your own applications. So in any application, you can decide to go with Create ScandiPWA app, and then you will have such features as themes, extensions, application plugins, etc. So, and one of also cool features is that on the front end, we commonly need some tool to get started. Like, for example, I would like to start writing my code in .less, instead of SAS. So we allowed to create build configuration plugins, not just application plugins. So you can do plugins to your Webpack configuration, you can do plugins to your application, and you can do file overrides, and you can start doing it in any application, like blank application, whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's an important feature, I would say. And so the main topic to get here is that we are based on Create ScandiPWA app, and ScandiPWA itself inherits all the features, but you can also get them by creating your own application. So that's a thing. So now let's talk a little bit more deeper about override systems and plugins. So how overrides work? Well, overrides work like this. You just create file with the same name under the same file structure in your application, and then it pretty much overrides the original one. So you can see here we're using our custom VS Code extension in order to do it. Yeah. So we are extending over the so we are extending the add to cart component, and we're telling it that we should override the add to cart, we should override the styles, and we should just extend the cart dispatcher. And we can see that multiple stuff is imported and then exported. So what does it allow us to do? So override mechanism allows us to override parent theme sources and override extension sources. So what this means is that if you have an extension providing the payment methods, which is blank and just injects some information into the checkout process, you can then extend it. So not extend it, you can then override on top of it. So you can override their components, and by overriding, you'll get the you can get your payment extension styled. And override theme sources means that if you have a parent theme, you can override that files, and that works just like in Magento. So you can build on top of, and there is essentially no limit to how many parent themes you can have. And just to summarize that efficiency, why is that efficient? So the first one is you can extend preference classes. This means that when you create an override, you can import the original file and modify just single piece of it, like an example, the class. So we are building with React classes, not class components, not with functional components, because we want to keep this extensibility, and we are focusing specifically on extensibility. So you can import, extend, and export back. You don't have to modify the source code, and that's an important topic for migration, because now when extension or theme updates, the code you imported from there just works if the interface wasn't changed. So if you override a function called render, then you pretty much, then when upgrading, even if the contents of render changed, you don't need to do anything with it. Yeah, it simply works. Okay, that's the biggest part about it. So this is how it works in the real life. The simplest example: we import the add to cart from add to cart component, and we can extend it by creating a new class, and then we export the new extended class here, new extended class back. And that's pretty much the essence of it. That's what you will be doing the most of the time. And once again, you can see the structure, the folder structure, is very smart, I would say. You can see that we are referencing by this alias, which has a source before it, like a prefix. And then we say the component, then we name it, and then we reference the component, container, or style. So we have this prefix notation for specifying the sources, and we have this postfix notation to specify the file types. And this stays always like this. So it's very easy to navigate the app by simply searching by files, or so by simply searching by files. Well, just to define it, once again, we have more than 300 class declarations. This means that our application is completely extensible. We have 0 functional components. You can import them, you can do stuff with them. We have very flat folder file structure, and that's what I showed you. That's why we have like this folder of components, which is full of different components, and you can always expect to find them there. And we have this consistent file naming convention with postfixes and prefixes. And this is very hard to keep in mind, this notations, this structures, yeah. And the big problem with those frameworks like Magento, ScandiPWA is that you need to learn the file structures, you need to learn the patterns. And what's the best way to make people familiar with it? Well, it's to force people using it by using the ESLint, and by providing them powerful fixing options. So what this means is that when you're getting ScandiPWA, we are installing you the ESLint with our configuration. Yes, of course, you can modify and change it, but by default, the ESLint will be forcing you to write correct application names, correct file structures, exporting your classes in a specific way, providing namespaces, which we'll talk to you a little bit later about. But once again, the ESLint is covering the automatization of all of those parameters or patterns that we define as the ScandiPWA distinguishable features. Yeah. So now, just a little bit to prove my concept, you can see that there are a lot of files, yes, exported in the component, and they are stored in a flat structure, and you will never find a folder in a folder there. You will always, when you open up any component, you will be looking at .component, maybe .container, index.js, and maybe .style. And in the rendering, we can see that because we are using classes, we're specifically aiming to be extensible. So we're splitting our rendering methods to as many functions and functions which are responsible for rendering. This means that you can explicitly change a single function in your application, and this would make this extension more efficient. Cool. Well, enhanced navigation experience is located here. You can see that by searching by file name, you can immediately see everything which is related to this. I would say, yeah. So by searching by file name, you can see all the files which are related to this specific file. And now we see that there are components, styles, containers, and sometimes even the reducers and dispatchers. That's the Redux stuff. But that's not as important, but you can see once again, they are following the strict postfix notation. And this allows for easy search. And ESLint rules, we talked about them, just skip them. Okay, plugins. Plugins are another very important feature because what they allow you to do is to inject into any place in your application. So imagine the functions, imagine the class methods, class properties, then the classes themselves, and basically anything which can be proxied is extensible in ScandiPWA. So you can see that you define a namespace for a class, and then you can reference them in your plugin file and say, I want my context provider to be processed by this add Redux context provider, and then you add your function there. You inject whatever, you can do whatever with the member and the instance there, and that's very powerful because this actually allows you not to. This is very powerful because this allows you to create an extension which is completely, I would say, standalone, so very standalone, and does not rely on any application logic. So you can just specify a file name, and then you can provide your feature completely into the application without modifying it. So this is the first time in the Node.js NPM history that you are installing extensions by simply adding it to the code. So that's just npm install, or better, ScandiPWA extension install, and they're automatically added, no code modifications needed. This means the process of extension installation is as easy as it is in Magento, and that's very powerful again. So you can not just extend classes, you can also extend the arrow functions, as you can see, and this was very hard to achieve. You can also extend the this is functional expression, I would say, and on top we can see that's a function declaration, and once again you can extend both, and you can then create a plugins for them pretty easily. Cool. And that's not just the features which are available today. You can also provide extension source code alongside of your package, so you can ship Composer with an npm, and that's not obligatory. We say that's not obligatory. So let's stop a little bit on our presentation here. Briefly, we'll mention the marketplace. So we guys have a marketplace, and the marketplace allows us to pretty much distribute an extensions made by partners and community. And there are a lot of stuff to see here. There are page builder supports, there are blocks, etc. So big, powerful features are there. And most of those extensions, pretty much all of them, are created by this plugin system. Okay. And yeah, even more ESLint rules and stuff. And the feature is upcoming. Okay, let's now talk a little bit more. I promised you an introduction into ScandiPWA. So now let's switch to ScandiPWA documentation. So there is docs.scandipwa.com. And in the docs ScandiPWA.com, we can read more what ScandiPWA is. But what's important here is for us to get started. And once we click to get started, we can see that the installation of ScandiPWA is pretty simple. So let's together go through this process. I will now stop sharing my screen and switch to the full screen mode. 1 second. So my entire screen. Oh, hello guys, this is my entire screen. So what we're currently will be doing is we will create our own ScandiPWA app. I hope this computer I'm currently using has the Yarn installed. Otherwise, we can use NPM. I just prefer Yarn. It is a little bit faster. So let's go to our downloads and let's simply run the application creation process. So let's name it ScandiPWA, let's say test, okay. And then it should create us a package. And while we're waiting, let's explore a little bit of our documentation. So once again, you have seen two URLs. The first one is docs.scandipwa.com. The second one is docs.createscandipwa.app.com. So why we have two? So we have two applications because this one explains the mechanism behind ScandiPWA and how it works. I mean, just the features themselves, like extensions, plugins, file provision, model preference, etc. Very cool features, but not all of them are used in ScandiPWA. And this one explains you specific patterns which you need to follow to make sure the ScandiPWA works all right. So I'm currently using a very not powerful computer, so hopefully this installation will be done real soon. And maybe while we're waiting, the host of this event, maybe you can share a little bit more detail if we have some time left, or we have to stop and start the QA if it is present. Oh, okay, cool. Then I will be able to display some features from the ScandiPWA hands-on. Okay,
yeah,
that's very cool. So once again, you can see that we have this override mechanism covered in our documentation. And inside of this documentation, we can see we have an ability to extend JavaScript styles, HTML, and PHP. And that's not it. We also have the videos available for you to watch, because not everyone is ready to spend half an hour just reading the documentation. You can go ahead and watch. So yes, once again, we created our application. I will zoom in a little bit, so potentially you're not looking, you're on a small screen. So I'm entering the test. I will open the VS Code here. It will be easier for us. So once I open the VS Code, we can do the Yarn start. And while waiting for a compilation, let's search for. I'm sorry. So let's take a look on what we have inside. So what we see here that the public folder and the source folder is empty. So why is it so? That's because once again we are building a theme. We are building a child theme of ScandiPWA, and that's defined here. We can see that in our ScandiPWA section, we have a parent theme defined, and we have just two dependencies, the ScandiPWA and ScandiPWA scripts. So we are building on top of ScandiPWA, and this is why we have everything empty. Once we start creating, basically we need to start creating tiles on top. We need to start overrides, and that will keep our SRC folder full. So let's see if the application is compiled already. It's just there. And what we see here is even with the empty SRC and public folder, my site is pretty much loaded. So here we can see that there is that is like the default testing site which we have, and it works all right. So I can see, I can filter it, I can do stuff. So how this is even possible? Well, again, that's the override mechanism in work. So now we can try to start overriding. So the next thing we will need to do is to go into the marketplace and search for ScandiPWA here. So let's get the development toolkit for CSA. So the CSA is create ScandiPWA app. This is important to get this one because this one is an extension for the version of Scandi that was a little bit less. It was a little bit less powerful, yeah, previously. So this one is. You can see it's not as old, it's half a year old maybe. So that's a new file structure which we have, and once it will be installed, we will be going on. And another thing we need to get is we need to install ourselves the CLI, and the CLI will help us a lot with extension creation once we go for it, and yeah, will help us a lot with extension creation. So once it's installing, we can maybe go ahead and explore how we should properly approach the development. So we can see I have currently my test folder open. I can go ahead and add workspace to this folder. And yeah, I know we are in a test. We need to select the ScandiPWA. So I'm going to my node modules. I'm looking for ScandiPWA here, add ScandiPWA. So add ScandiPWA, and I select ScandiPWA here. I click add, and what happens is that now I have the same folder structure as here, but now the internationalization folder is full. The Magento folder, sorry, the public folder has the index.html, and the SRC folder is full. So now I can see how my files are basically. How my files are actually laid out, and I can start searching by file name. And just to demonstrate the override mechanism, what we will do now is we will override the index.js, or okay, let's do something more interesting. Let's actually override the header itself. So I'm sorry, I'm always forgetting this one. So what we should do is we should first find the header. So we're looking for the header, and that's header. Yeah, let's do following. Let's copy the relative path of it, but I'll already say it's src component header.component. And let's do following. Let's click here and let's say create a new file. I'm sorry, I haven't properly copied it. Copy relative path. Let's create a new file here, and let's paste in this one. And so what will happen is it will create you the src component header.component. So it's just by this same path. And what we should do now is, as what I said, we should import everything from here. And so let's say I want to import the header as a source header from where we should import it from source component. Then we say header. Then we say header.component. And then we define a new header which extends the source header. And then we actually export default the header. You can see below the application started to recompile, and it's already tells us that there are some issues, like we haven't provided the namespaces, and that's what I was talking about. We force you to write the correct code, and the thing we need to do here is to lint, and we need to enable this library output. I will click here and I will allow it everywhere. And what it will do is it will start showing me the issues which it has in this file. We will be able to resolve them. So let's fix all auto-fixable issues. And we can see that it renamed us to header component. So it's fine, it's a new file structure, and it's provided the namespace. And this namespace will be very useful when going for plugins. So yeah, now the training spaces are not allowed because we need to export, we need to define some method. So let's say we're going to redefine the render method itself. So we are completely ignoring all of the other functionality, but we're doing it just for simplicity. Okay, maybe instead of doing just the header, let's override the contacts because it will be visible, yet we will see that only part of it changed. So let's return here a new div, and let's say the block of it, the block is, or maybe let's say the class name for ease of use. Let's say the class name is contact or the test. So, and let's export test here. So now it should compile. Yes, it compiled. So we can go back to our browser and see if it's changed. So we can see that this part has changed to test here. Okay, cool. But maybe I now want to provide some styles to it. And I indeed want. And the best way to do it, instead of overriding the styles completely, is to add another style, I would say, to extend those styles to provide one another style. So what I will do is I will do header.style component here, and I will provide it the extension here, or let's say additional. It doesn't matter. So you basically change this name to something. Yes. So you get header additional style. And here we will style a header, and then we need to import it here. So I'll import my header additional style, like so. And it says to auto-fix the issues, yes. So here I will define the styles for my test. I will say my.test will be off color blue, and it will be font weight of bold. Cool. And once it compiles, we should be able to see the changes reflected here. And yeah, it's blue. And that's cool. And we just created our first theme. And this process, basically, we like this to be called header.override.style.scss. I forgot just the name. We can now see how it works, yeah, by using the VS Code extension. So we created our file manually. Now let's do something more powerful. Let's extend source component. So once again, we can see it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, we need to go to VS Code preferences. And here we need to search for ScandiPWA. And here we need to change the path to ScandiPWA source. In our case, it will be node modules at ScandiPWA, as far as I remember. And now if we do extend source component, potentially like so, I'll take a look. Not sure why it's not. I will reload the window, sorry.
The node module spelling is wrong, like you said node module.
Yeah, really?
Modules.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. So once again, let's search for ScandiPWA. And yeah, correct. I'm sorry. So node modulus. I should better just copy this relative path here. It could potentially give me the correct one. Oh no. Okay, let's assume this is the right one. I'm sorry. I restarted the compilation. Now let's copy the path here and let's put it inside. And let's just remove this part. Yes, like so. And now what should be, when we click extend source component, we should see a list popping down with a list of components to extend. So now let's say we want to override how the breadcrumbs are looking. So we're overriding the breadcrumbs. And I'm just interested in the component, and I would like to extend these styles. And I will do nothing with my container. So just after it's created, we can see stuff going on here. So let's fix all auto-fixable problems here, and let's export that. And here, yeah, so we can see that we extended the breadcrumbs. Now let's take a look what we would like to change in the breadcrumbs. We would like to change, for example, what it renders inside. Yes, so let's go ahead to breadcrumbs component, the original one, breadcrumbs component. You can see I'm searching by file name. So I'm looking at breadcrumbs component, the original one, and I'm really interested in overriding how the name actually is rendered. So you can see every breadcrumb renders the name. Yes, so let's override this file here, and we need to change this import to be like so. Sorry, something very wrong went with this mechanism. So let's name it again, override. Not with without the bugs. We are focusing to resolve the bugs with the extensions as soon as possible, but it's not as popular, so it's not as #1 priority. So header.additional.style, this is the header, and this one we need to import here. So let's do it. Yes, and now this one here, I want, instead of writing the placeholders, I want to render a div, which will have a class name of, let's say, name, yeah, and I will render a name here. So I'm rendering name here, and I want it to be font weight again, bold, and my favorite color of red. So let's take a look if that helped us. 1 second, there is some issue which ESLint dislikes, and that's because of this token. But what you can also see is that ESLint has our compilation has some issues, so we'll restart it. And yeah, once it will be ready, we'll be able to open up again in the browser. It will do that for us, and we should be able to explore our new red breadcrumbs. While we're waiting for it, let's make sure we have, so this is how the override mechanism works. So you can see I'm just creating files with the same name, and that completely overrides the original one. Or we can, yeah, so we are overriding the files. I hope this is clear. This is showcased pretty damn well. So once again, if we reload this page, we should see that the breadcrumbs should be now red, and they are not. And that's, of course, sad. Let's explore if it's indeed overridden. So it still has name, but okay. So let's take a look. We have this breadcrumbs component. So where was this name originally rendered? Maybe it's just not rendered now. So let's see, breadcrumbs component from ScandiPWA. We see here render link. Oh, that's the breadcrumb component. You see, we did a mistake. We incorrectly named it. So okay, it's fine. Let's just rename this one as well. I intended to override breadcrumb, not breadcrumbs. So I actually selected everything correctly. And you can see again the ESLint, after we rename, it starts to argue with us. It says, hey man, please use correct namespace. And again, we will. So instead of breadcrumb, yeah, let's use this one. And so once it compiles, what we should be able to see is that our breadcrumbs would change. And you can see it's sensitive to file names. So yeah. So the breadcrumbs are not exported. Breadcrumbs is not exported in breadcrumb components. Yes, breadcrumb. Yes, it's like so. It's like so. Okay, now it's extended. Let's head back here and reload. Hopefully we'll see the red breadcrumbs appear. Hopefully, yes, indeed, the red breadcrumbs appear. So it works. Now, let's, now we'll finish with extensions about, now we're finished about parent themes and overrides. Let's take a look how the extensions work. So first validate if we have the ScandiPWA command. ScandiPWA -v. Sorry. No, we still don't have this command. Let's take a look why. Okay, so this computer has wrong permissions for NPM. I won't be fixing this right now. Instead, I will just call this command. Yes, so like so. Hopefully that's correct password. Yes, and now it will be again installed. So I'm currently installing the ScandiPWA CLI, and let's take a look what we'll be able to do with it. So using ScandiPWA CLI, we will be able to create an extension. So what is an extension? An extension is an NPM package with a type of extension and the field ScandiPWA, and it should be registered in our theme as a path to an extension, as an extension name, and then enabled in the extensions section of ScandiPWA. We can see we can use the ScandiPWA CLI for it, and we can install or create new extensions. Today we'll be using create extensions. Yes, and the enabling of them will be done automatically for us. So let's take a look what extensions can do. First, it can create application plugins. Then it can create build configuration plugins, module preference, and file provision. So module preference is a very powerful feature which we haven't talked about yet, but we won't be covering it today. But in its essence, it allows you to take over another NPM or virtual module. This means that you can, for example, provide your own implementation to whole module. Like you want your own React, you can simply use this command and say, so use preference React, and your extension will be source of React from now on. And file provision is used, and it allows you to provision a file, which means it allows you to add another place from where to resolve it. Like an example, the index.php is provided from ScandiPWA M2 theme extension, and it allows, and then it's used in the compilation. So it's not so useful in the beginning, so we will be talking more about application plugins today. Cool. So I hope the, sorry, that's not the right terminal. So I hope the extension is installed, and it is. So let's validate ScandiPWA -v. It should export as something. Yes, indeed, it is installed. So now we can go ahead here and paste in ScandiPWA extension create. And now let's say how we would like to name our extension. I would say this one is the, let's say simply demo. So this will create our package called demo in packages.demo. So here we can see the packages folder appeared, and this can be completely separate. It can be located outside. It's using the NPM link, and it's actually providing the path to the extension here. So we can see that the demo package is installed, and we can see that the extension will be added here. So extension is now enabled. And this is symlinked. We can see that post installed and post update is added to symlink packages. Cool. So now here we can see again that's a completely empty folder. And what we can do now is we can go ahead and try to create a plugin. So how to create a plugin? So let's take a look. So the process is pretty damn simple. We need to locate the namespace. We need to define what type of proxy it is. And we need to create our own plugin following these guidelines. Okay, so let's find out what we will be creating a plugin for. Let's say we would like to create a plugin for, let's take a look on the side. Let's create a plugin for this application, for this section, the category details section component. Yeah, so sorry, let's go back here and let's do following. So let's search for category details. We found the category details.component here. Let's copy this file up, this namespace. Let's do now new plugin here. Let's create a new file. Let's call it category details .plugin.js. This name doesn't matter. The main thing is it's .plugin.js. So what we should do here, we should export default the following object. The first key is the component, so the plugin itself. The next key is the function we would like to change. So let's say we're targeting the render category. Let's say we're targeting, yes, render category name. So we're targeting render category name, and let's say we would like to add something to this render. So let's say we would like to to add to our category name some prefix or whatever. So let's do add after render category name, or a simple add after render category name. And what I forgot to do is I forgot to say it's a member function, member property, member. Let's see. It's a member function, but let's see. So we need to select from what we are looking for, the class method or class property or function. I'm looking for class method, so I'm using the member function here. So let's say member function here, and let's put in this one. So here we should do the const add category name. That's just a function declaration, nothing too special here. But what I will copy from here is the parameters, so arguments, callback, and the stuff. So the first thing which we need to do is we say original render, and the original render in our case is callback called with an argument. So that is. And now what we can do is we can, for example, let's take and render the ID from the category. So let's take a category ID. So we do it from instance.props. So this is the original instance we're taking the value from. And let's now return the following thing. We will return the, let's return the array. So we'll return the array from the renderer. Hopefully this will work. And let's say the first element in this array will be the original renderer. And the second element of this array will be our paragraph with a key called ID. And let's add the ID inside of it. So like so. Let's take a look if this works. So what we expect to do is to have yes, so like so. Let's restart the compilation, and let's talk a little bit what we did here. So we took the original value, original return value of this render method, and we added the paragraph to it. And this might be not the best way to do it, so let's wait a little bit until it compiles, and if it doesn't work, I'll show you a little bit different method. 1 second. So another method to do it while we're waiting would be to return a fragment. So if we return a fragment simply, and then we can say that here it's the original render, and here it's and here it is our paragraph. So that would be the second option to do. Then you don't need a key specified here. It should also work. So let's comment this out for now, and let's take a look if our first method worked. So take a look. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Did it work? So I cannot see. Oh, I see. I see. We do have this paragraph injected while it has no value. Okay. And that's because this is the improper way. We should get it from the category ID like so. And now it will work. So if I reload this page, it can actually automatically reload. We can see that it's woman 27. And once again, we can see that every logic is located inside of here. And that's very powerful. This means that you can now encapsulate your own logic of your extension in your own packages. And your packages may have the components folder and stuff. So the question is now to the host. So I showcased most of the features. We can now talk a little bit more about build configuration plugins, because that's one last feature we haven't really focused. But the process is just the same. I think it's not as crucial today to talk about it. So do we have some time left, or we should start the QA?
We still have like 3 to 4 minutes left before the QA.
Okay, before the QA.
Yeah.
I think the 4 minutes is not too much. So what we should just understand here is how to create build plugins. So build plugins might be necessary for you in case you want to, let's take it by example. So the build plugins. So by default, ScandiPWA itself does not support the compilation into Magento 2 theme. But with a simple extension of M2 theme, it now gets this ability. And what this extension does, it provides the before script and the plugin for a Krakow. So it provides a plugin for a Webpack or for Create React App. And what we can see here is that it provides some plugin for Krakow config and the Webpack configuration itself. You can see it injects a different template. It starts to render into ScandiPWA root. Disables the minification because it breaks PHP. It does a lot of stuff. It you can see it outputs everything into Magento theme, so it's a valid Magento compilation. So you can see basically there is a way how to create an extension which will be modifying the basically the Webpack build scripts, and that's powerful because now you can take any feature of Webpack you want and integrate it in your application, and you will be working with Create React App. So we are using Create React App under the hood, but without ejecting. So we're using Create React App, then Krakow on top of it, and then ScandiPWA on top of it. And by combining, by using Create ScandiPWA app for your home pet projects, you will be able to use both plugins, which we just showed, themes, and build configurations. So you'll be able to add your own modifications to Webpack. Yes, you can see the service worker is actually done in the same way. So the service worker is also injected using the Webpack plugin. And yeah, yes, it's basically a powerful feature which allows us to extend the build process. So yes, with that said, I think I'm pretty much told you everything it was possible to tell you about ScandiPWA in this short period of time. So thank you guys for being here with me today. I hope you have some questions to me, and
yes,
I think
we do have some questions that were posted by the community. So one of the first questions that I got is that does ScandiPWA support TypeScript?
ScandiPWA does support TypeScript, so you can write in TypeScript, but our source code is not in TypeScript. So basically, what we can do now is we can go ahead and create .ts file or .ts6 file for JS6 templates, and it will work. And ESLint is also configured to use the TypeScript. We are not using it in the core just because we consider it to be too complex for Magento developers coming from the backend world to actually learn it as quickly, because they are already familiar with JavaScript, just want to create their own front end, just want to modify files. And learning TypeScript is sometimes a little bit complex, and people start to use this any, and then it becomes pretty much useless. So you can use the TypeScript for your own development using Create ScandiPWA or ScandiPWA, but the ScandiPWA core is not coming to TypeScript yet because we consider it more like complexity level on top.
Okay, got it. The next question was around the deployment and build process. So is there any documentation which guidelines how to create a build and a
The
deploy?
easiest way to deploy the application is basically to write ScandiPWA deploy. That's the easiest way. It will create you the development server. No, not the development server. It will create you the static deployment of your application, and you will be able to like browse it around. So I will now deploy this application which we just created during this session, and I'll share it with you. So I'll give you a link. But basically, the documentation is found on Create ScandiPWA app and Docs ScandiPWA app, where so the first one is the Magento integration section, and that will tell you more about deploying. And in Create ScandiPWA app, there is a specific section in the docs called Deploying Your App, and it tells you how to deploy your app as a storefront or as a Magento theme. So yeah, we do have those docs. So basically, easiest way to deploy is just to write ScandiPWA deploy, and it will deploy it to the static server, or you can do the same manually, basically.
Okay, got it. The other question was regarding page builder support, but I think you told that there is a marketplace extension for page builder support for ScandiPWA.
Yes, correct. So we do not support page builder out of the box because it's an enterprise feature, and ScandiPWA is not focusing on the enterprise feature out of the box. We are providing full support for enterprise, but with extensions. So yeah, most enterprise features like and stuff is found in extensions, because we consider this to be a standalone features which might be or might not be required for the users, for the open source users, which is the vast majority of our community.
Okay, got it. The other question was regarding SEO, which is mostly regarding GTM or Google Tag Manager integration, as well as Google Analytics integration.
So the marketplace also has the GTM extension, which actually provides you very powerful GTM layer, which actually has all of the events necessary. It's used by the largest project ScandiPWA actually has in its showcase. So most of them are using this exact GTM extension. It works, it's very powerful. It's pretty much used by large agencies and most of our partners. So marketplace it is. Go ahead there, take a look. There is a marketplace GTM extension, and it's what powers basically. That's what about it.
Okay.
And once again, that's a standalone feature, so it's moved in a separate extension.
Okay, got it. And another one was regarding server-side rendering for crawlers. So is there any recommendation from ScandiPWA how to configure
So the ScandiPWA does not have a server-side rendering support out of the box, so it's not rendered on server-side. That's completely client-side rendered application, but you can use tools for so-called hybrid rendering or pre-rendering, and that's the pre-render IO, render throne, and stuff. Yeah, so basically we recommend using pre-render in order to get this content rendered. Yeah.
Okay, got it. One of the final questions was regarding ScandiPWA support for Magento Cloud. Is it something
Yes,
that
it does
it
work
is
on Magento
offered?
Cloud. We have projects which are running on Magento Cloud.
Does it require any kind of tweaking to make it work, or does it work out
No,
of the box?
ScandiPWA is a Magento theme. So once you install it into Magento, it's recognized as a valid Magento theme, and you don't have to do anything at all. As basically ScandiPWA is compiled into valid Magento themes, so you can develop it as a storefront like we did today, but then you can write Magento mode, deployment, build mode Magento, and yarn build, and this will compile into valid Magento theme, which you will be able to simply import or install using the composer if you have a private registry, or symlink using the composer repository if you're so you can add a local repository and symlink it. Everything about it is written in the docs.
Okay, great. And the final question is regarding Magento B2B support for ScandiPWA. Does it have it, or do we have some kind of extension that will?
Yes, so B2B support is under development because most of our extensions are coming from, I would say, use cases. So if our partner or we have a so-called a project which involves B2B, then we integrate, then we move those features out and basically create an extension out of them. And for a moment, there were no large projects involving B2B except one of our partners from Sweden. So basically, currently there is no extension which is providing you B2B features, but I think we had plans to create it. So there was like a speech among the partners to develop it, and I started hearing about it like 2 or 3 months ago. I'm not sure what's the progress of it now.
move on to our next presentation. So we have Virbhadra here today. He has over 10 years of experience with Magento 1 and working with Magento 2 as well. He mostly focuses nowadays on headless commerce integration, email marketing integrations, and so on. And today he is with us to give us a brief introduction to the fundamentals of GraphQL. So Virbhadra, I'll stop sharing my screen and you can start sharing yours.
Very good afternoon, and Atish has already introduced me. I'll just give a small brief about me. It's myself, Virbhadra Ankalkote, and working with the Bond Commerce last 3 years as a senior software engineer. Today, I'm giving you some basic fundamentals introduction about the GraphQL. So let's begin with the agenda. So today's agenda is the GraphQL. What is GraphQL? Who build the GraphQLs? Why we need a GraphQL? And how to make a GraphQL? Okay. Let's go with one by one. So what is a GraphQL? The GraphQL is it's infrastructure query language for the APIs and runtimes for the fulfilling queries with the existing data. By queries actually. Okay, so generally we use a query word into the SQL levels actually. So queries is nothing but fetching the database SQL queries and all those things. So here also the GraphQL is the same thing. It's fetching the required data from the APIs. We'll go with the deep in upcoming slides. Go to the next slides. Who build this GraphQL? So in 2012, Facebook developed a GraphQL technology for their native apps. For the GraphQL, because we are using REST APIs since last 1 decade, and still what is need or necessary of the GraphQL is that Facebook was planning to build a mobile native applications, and they were the app is basically for the news feeds for their post likes and all those things. The current REST APIs and all existing APIs, they are facing a lot of problems, and because of which they are planning to get with a new. Okay, and then they started in 2012 as a building a new technologies. And in mid of 2012, in August 2012, they have created their first mobile app, iOS app, with using the GraphQL technologies. And this is a very successful. And then in 2015, GraphQL is publicly available for as a community editions, and many more bigger companies are using and maintaining the GraphQL as their level. Some of the company names you can say that's the GitHub, Twitter's, Shopify. Now Magento also using the GraphQLs for their this one. If you go with the graphs, so it's with the graph innovations that its development started in 2015. You can see that it's an open source for everyone, and now it's involving the specifications with all other companies. Now with the next, why we need a GraphQL? So we already have the APIs, SOAP APIs, we already in place, right? They are using 2 decades since last, and everyone is, they are most of the successful APIs actually, but still why we need a GraphQL? So let's go begin with the APIs. It's the history actually. API is an application programming interface that is used to communicate between a network, sending and receiving the data from one computer to another computer. So if we go with the API's history, we can see that in 1981 there is a remote procedure sales. That's the RPC is first build the API actually. And in 1991 it's a CORBA, that's a common object request broker architecture. This is the second API which built, and in 1998 a SOAP, a simple object access protocol. This is we all know actually, right? Even we are using it. It's a simple XML format API request. And then in 2000s we use a REST. Okay, this is the most popular GraphQL. You can say this. Okay, so everyone is using a REST APIs for their communications and their transferring the data. And in 2012, the GraphQL has been introduced by the Facebook. So let's go with the REST flow. So we'll consider the REST as our base comparison with the GraphQL. Okay, so REST, we have request types as a GET, POST, PUT request, and then the request from the client side is sent to the application server. Application server receives get the information from the databases and send as a response. So this is the base flow for the guest. Sorry, the REST actually. Okay, and there are some principles of the REST APIs. It's a client-server communication. It's a stateless. It's also cacheable in case of the GET request layer. It supports the layered systems, codes and demands, and it can say that's a uniform interface. Okay, the key of the doubling the keys clients from the client is servers having the uniform information that allows the independent evolutions. This is basically the six principle of the REST APIs. Okay, and we'll just see the okay, this traditional fetching. Okay, so how we are fetching the REST API. So suppose a client needs a post info. So these are the endpoints for the REST. So every endpoint is a difference. So if we want some specific information which is available into the different endpoints, so we need to call all the endpoints and gather that response, manipulate that response at the client level, and then show it on the front end. This is the traditional way for fetching the REST APIs. Okay, and here it's failing for the Facebook. Okay, because Facebook has a different tables for the post. Sorry, the comments, the likes, and all the things. So getting this information in the large hits, that they're facing the issues for the server performance and all that. That's why it's coming with the GraphQL. So how the GraphQL works? So when clients send a request, okay, clients send a request in a query format. Okay, if a client wants only 3 states, they just want a city, state, and country. So they send a request to the GraphQL application server APIs. Okay, the API will communicate with the database, and it will respond only whatever the queries the client requested. So they just only send the city, state, and country to the end user actually. So this is the flow, and this is the simple difference between REST and GraphQL. You can see this one. It's the data fetching. You can say in REST API we have multiple endpoints, whereas in GraphQL we have single endpoints. It's query. In REST, you can see the over and undefiniting of the data. One of the most common problem with REST is that the over and undefiniting. Okay, unlike the traditional APIs, GraphQL exports all of the data from the single endpoints. This is like the rapid products iterations on the front end. If you see with the REST, with every changes that is made to the UI, there is high risk that now there is a more data required than this. Changes on the client side can be made without any extra work on the server. So in GraphQL, if you see this one, to minimize changes on the client side, that will be helpful for the changing the production iteration. The systems types GraphQL CMI is the DSLs. Then we'll go to the next slides. Okay, browser tools. So we know that for using the REST, we use the Postman for generally actually. It is the best tool for this. You can use the Postman, but that is in beta version. So there are some Chrome extensions that we can use. Those are very helpful. Basic Chrome installs and extensions. And I'm using the GraphQL Playground Chrome extension. So let me show you the GraphQL extensions for this one. Okay, so this is the GraphQL extensions, Playground extension Chrome. that we are using. In this area, you will see is the schema. You can see the schema over there. What is the schema for GraphQL? That I'll explain in the next slides. We can put an endpoint at this level. And this is the query sections. We also have the variables, query variables, and the HTTP variables section over here. So this is the basic structure. So let me show you in the browser itself. So you can see this one. This is the endpoint area. This is the schema. This is the result section. This is the query section. And this is the query variables and HTTP headers variables. So yeah. So now we'll go with the how we can use a GraphQL with the so operations in GraphQL, we can say this. So there are three types of operations in GraphQL we can do. That's queries, mutations, and subscriptions. Queries is nothing but read the data from the schema. Mutations is nothing but the writing data. So it's the same like queries is nothing but a GET request into the REST API, whereas mutation is the put request. We can say this one. And subscriptions is to listen the data from the listen the data. The thing is, in Magento we are not using the subscriptions. So for today we are just going with the queries and the mutations operations as of right now. So consider there's a schema. So what is the schema in a GraphQL actually? So in a MySQL, consider we have a database and there are some tables actually. Okay, in the database we have tables called the books, reviews, and the inventory. And suppose someone asks you to get the book list or book names from the database. So what you exactly do? You cannot write a directly query over there. First, you will see the database structure actually. So you will write a descriptions, disk, and the data table name actually. So it will show you the schema for the particular table. It's the books actually. So same like the MySQL in GraphQL also we have the schemas mentioned at the application server level. So let me show you what are the schema for the MySQL on the Magento levels. I'm just putting the URL endpoint for the GraphQL. Okay, there is something server cannot be reachable. Let me check server. It is showing server cannot reachable. Okay, server is available. Let me see. So when I put the endpoints into this URL, you will see that the queries. So these are nothing but the schema for this. So if you see this one, the card schema, the catalog categories, these are all the schemas. You will see the queries, you will see the mutations schema for this one. So these are nothing but the schema for this Magento GraphQL, which allows us the operations. Okay, so considering the same thing, suppose we have a three schema for the books, reviews, and the inventory. Okay, and we have the three users, endpoints or the front-end users, that's the desktop, and suppose an Alaska and the mobile app actually. Okay, and they both are wants the different data. If you go with an Alaska is asking only for the available books for the system. Okay, and if we go with the desktop users, they just want to search the reviews and inventory available into the systems. Okay, whereas the mobiles user they just want the books and the reviews. So all have having a different requirements. They don't want the complete data. Okay, that's where the GraphQL comes in picture. I'll tell you some basic examples differentiating with the REST APIs, suppose. So in REST APIs, if we need a CMS page, actually CMS page from the Magento APIs, when we call the CMS page, it will send me the complete data. But I just want the title for the CMS pages, and that's not possible with the REST API. That will be, but there are some more codings and changes required at the server level that we need to send a parameters that we should handle at the server application level. But the default REST, it's quite possible. Then we go with the GraphQL endpoints. Okay, so if I go with the okay, just loading. Okay, the schema is loaded. So now I just need a query, and here goes the CMS page. If I want a CMS page, what I require is I just need the URL, just need the content. If I call this one, it's saying the page entity is required. So we need to pass which page we just need. So we need a filter over there. So I'm passing this ID. If you go to the schema, it will show you what are the required parameters for this one. If I go with the CMS page, it requires the identifier. It requires the entity ID. So I'm adding the ID as in one. And you can see this one, right? I'm just asking for the URL and the content for the CMS page one, and it is just returning me the only two parameters, that's the URL and the content. So like this, whichever data is required, we can ask the particular users endpoints. So examples, now reading the data. Let's go with the my query. As I shown you that we are just sending the query parameters over here with the CMS page. We are just adding that integer. What is that? That's ID for the page. If I go with the second page, it will give me another page data. It's the home page. The content is blank for this one. If I go with this, so like this, we can get the queries, search queries, and the by IDs. I can search the CMS page, or I can get the data with a particular CMS page. So this is an example for the getting the search for the books with an ID or with a string. So with a string actually. Okay, now I'll show you the example of the products. So I'm getting the total count for products. Let me see this one. So I can see it's showing that the filter inputs argument is required. Okay, so let me tell you one point over here from that schema. If I go with the products, okay, which you will see the arguments over there, right? So there are some arguments which is required while sending the queries. So in this product filter, we need the filters. So I'm adding a filter over here as a parameter. And when I enter this one, okay, it will tell me the total number of total counts over there for the product. Now I need the individual counts. So we'll add the items. Oops, it's not with add the items. Now let's go with the item search name SKU. Okay, so now you will see these are the data with the specification. So let's add the filter over there. Now I just want to add a filter. So I need a specific product name. Suppose a name. I need a product name match. So I need a product name like adjust. You see, I just added a filter over there. It is just returning me the one product which is matching to that particular filter. So like same thing, we can do the search on the GraphQL and with the gate book that I have just shown you for that CMS page, right? So suppose CMS page, I need and yeah, now you can see I just got the CMS page and the products data into the same query actually. I don't have to call to different queries for the same. Okay, it's just with the ID and the search filter as well. Okay, this is how the GraphQL search works. Now let's go with the next slide. So this is just examples of getting that books, let's UID, depend upon ID that we have just seen for this CMS page, right? For this particular ID, we are just getting the CMS page content for this. Now let's go for the writing the data. That's mean a mutation. So suppose we need to add a data into the server, application server, right? So we can add it by using the GraphQL. So we just mutant type and whatever. So in our example, we are storing a new, we are adding a new star over there, right? That the star is added into the review schema. So if you go with that schema, when you run this one, it will goes to the, it will add a new entry into the review section, review schema. Let's see in the Magento examples. I will add the new CMS page. Okay, so now let me go with the same one. Okay, now. So let's create a new user into the system. So we are creating mutations for customer. So create customers, that is, we need the input. If I see create customer schema into the schema section, let's go and check the schema for create customer. Okay, we can only do the mutation which is shown in this mutation section actually. Okay, it's not like for all the schema we can do this one. Whichever allows for it needs input for the customer data, and it's also output the customer data which we are wants to the access. I hope. Okay, now let me go with the inputs parameters. I'll go with the first name. What will be? I'll add the last name as the email ID. So these are some basic information that we need for creating the users. Okay. Suppose if anything I miss or there, it will throw an exceptions. I'll add the password in a Magento format, which is required the 8 characters. Now I'll go with so these are the inputs data which we need for this. Okay, now I'll go. Okay, see. We're also fetching the same data which we are creating for that new user. We are fetching the first name, we are fetching the last name, we are fetching the email. Now I'm sending the query to the server. It's taking time as it's local server, so it won't work fast. So yeah, so you will see that when the new customer is created, these are the details for those customers. Okay, so we'll use this customer for the next purpose. So yeah, like this one, we can do mutation queries using the GraphQLs. So this is the examples which I have just shown you for that creating new customers with using the GraphQL mutation. Now variables. So in GraphQL, you can also use a variables to reuse the same queries or mutations written by the clients with the different arguments. So as like an other programming language, we can use the variables in GraphQL as well. When we start working with the variables, we need to do 3 things majorly. First thing, to replace the static value with the queries with a variable name. Second thing, to declare the variables as one of the variable accepted by the queries and pass the variable name values in a separate transport specifics. So let's see one of the example for the variables. We'll take the same examples that we use for the products. Now I'll just remove this CMS section from the okay. Okay, so now you will see that this we can see that its total number of counts is 189, but still it's not loading the all products, it's loading only the limited products. So let's use the paginations and the page size in the current page actually. So now we can use 2 more parameters. It's called the page size. Let's use the pen and the current page. I'll add a few more data into this one, like so we can use the image. Image contains the file. Let's see with the pagination actually. Okay, so now you will see that we added. Okay, let me reduce the paginations. I'll add a page size as 1 only. and current page 1. You can see that okay, it's just loading only one product from the current page 1. Okay, so now we can move this current page size and this current page as a variable. So I can write on my put this current page is over here, and now this current page, not page size. So like this, we can pass the variables to the our script queries actually. Okay, so now where we can declare this variable. So now we have to declare with these variables into the query variables. So we have sections over here. Here we need to send query variables current page, that is 10. And we can set a page size, that is something. If you see this one, you will get the 2 page. So we are sending the current page as a 1 and the page size is a 2. We are getting a 2 parameters. So by this types, we can pass the variables with this query or the mutations into the GraphQL. Let me try with the page size as a 9 and page 2. If you see, there are some, you will see some good tool. This is a very good tool. Okay, when you it will show you the auto completion for the each and every schema. It will show what are the parameters is required for this card. So it's, this tool is very good. Even you'll see that it will show you the errors as well. You will see this one. This is some errors actually, syntax error into this query parameter. So like this, we can send the variables. Let's go with the fragments, GraphQL fragments. So what is a GraphQL fragments? A GraphQL fragments is a piece of logic that can share between two multiple queries and the mutations. In our real world program language, we create some default functions that can use for the multiple places. It's a reusable function. Same like with the GraphQL, we can create a sample of codes where we can use that it's called as a fragment that we can use with the different queries and the mutations. So let's take, in the GraphQL, you can often need queries for the same data fields in the different queries. Yeah. And by reusing this code, we can go with more efficiency in our time reusing this space of queries. Let's go with one of the examples. So you can see this real examples for the fragments actually. You can see this, we have created fragments called the regions. Okay, this regions is created on the schema. It's called as the customer address region. Okay, and we are using the same regions on the uh, customer addresses for the shipping address and for the billing address. So let's go with this example. I'll create some samples for this one. Okay, so let's go with the creating a new schema. Okay. Sorry, creating a new queries, graphic queries. You'll see that I just put the custom, and it will show you the auto suggestions for there. I'll just need the first name, I'll need the last name, emails. So let me add. In region, suppose I need a region ID, region code. Okay. It's clearly showing that there is some issue with this region actually, because this is an object, this is not actually the field. So I just need to pass this region ID and all the things into this object. Region code, region ID, and suppose I'll add a region over there. Now, when I execute this one, okay, it's asked me that a customer isn't authorized actually. So I'm trying to access the customer data, which is required the authentications for this one. Go with the customers, get the token, customer token. We can pass it into the headers and then access these details. So let me generate a customer token for. Okay, for generating customer tokens, we need the mutations query because it is write database, write query into the database. So I'll use a mutation. This is okay. You will see that the customer token is available. Okay, to generate a customer tokens, we need the email ID and the password. Let's try to generate a tokens email token. Okay, I will return the token. Now I'm adding the filters over there. It is called email. Now I'm adding the email IDs, the email ID which we have given over here. This is the email ID. It's showing the error because it's a string into the double quotations. Now it's a password. I need a comma and the password. The password. This is required over here. If I create this one. It give me the token, right? So now I use this token to get the customer details. Okay, so if you can see these ones, I've added the headers as an authentication. It's a bearer token and content type. So you can pass the headers like these ones to the GraphQLs. So now you can see this one. Okay, the data for the customer I can see over here. Okay, let me go with the first one. Let me create a fragment for this one. Okay, the fragment is a region on customer addresses. So what is this customer address? It's some schema, one of the schema into the application server. So I'm creating the fragments on this schema. So what this fragment contains, it contains the region ID, and the region code. So now the fragment is created. So let's use this fragment. So this is the fragment name that we need to use on the our queries and the mutations. So now in this regions, I'm just replacing this fragment. Now I'm just passing this region name. This is the fragment name over there. So when I run this one, it goes and it gives me the access of simple data. It's showing as empty shipping address because the address is not set for this particular customer. So now when I use the same fragment for the billing address as well,
Virbhadra, we are on time now.
okay, yeah, so I'm just completing first. So yeah, so by this way we can use the fragments on the GraphQL level. Let's go with the pain points for the GraphQLs. It's not like that, GraphQL is also every time is useful. So go with so there are some possibilities, okay, impossible things in the GraphQLs, that the GraphQLs in defining depth actually. So we cannot query an indefining depth. Okay, that means if we need a large data in a depth value, so using GraphQL that's not possible because it's again a resource taking and specific resource structure. So for the GraphQL we need a specific resource structures, okay, that match the steps of the query. So if you need a response very specific structure, you will have to add a transform layer to reshape the response. So this is some of the points that GraphQL is not possible in GraphQL. Then the hard to solve actually. Cache at network level. So as we know that the REST API is very cacheable at the GET request. So same like in the GraphQL is used to order HTTP post cache at the network level because of hard. A way to solve it's use a persistent query. Persistent query is what? Okay, when we do the GraphQLs into the command level, you will see it is sending as a let me show you into the network. Okay, just 2 more minutes. If I'm passing this, so you will see that one we are sending this as a GET request. Okay, and all data is passing into the as a part of the payload request. Okay, so so this request goes very huge. Okay, when we need a lot of in-depth data. Okay, so that's why many companies use a persist query. So persist queries are nothing but we can encrypt those query request into the some SSH key, and then we can pass those key to the server, and server identify those key, and decrypt those key, and then send a response. So by this way, many companies are using the caching level for this one. Second point for the GraphQL is the handling for the file upload. So in file uploads, it's GraphQL doesn't support for this file upload, so we need to use a REST again for there. So yeah, so this is some basic of the GraphQL fundamentals. Any questions, guys?
If anybody has any questions, they can speak up or can put it in the chat.
Yes, yes. I have a question. Virbhadra, there were some concerns. I did some development in GraphQL, and there were some issues with the security. Okay, I did some research myself also. So, what's your point on this? The queries are taken into request, and the GraphQL engine process these queries and returns the response. In while processing the queries, there can be injections. Okay, so Facebook released GraphQL, but they are not using GraphQL. Okay, and at the same time, Instagram is also not using GraphQL. So, is there any risk because it's a very new thing in the development, and if we start developing enterprise scale applications and they're coming security issues while injections and SQL injections, like GraphQL query injections, can it be a possibility?
Yeah. So regarding the security, okay, there are many discussions on the GraphQL security actually. Okay, so many companies are still in not deciding whether we can go with the GraphQL on the productions based or not actually. Okay, that they are finding that there are some injections happening on the GraphQL level. So yeah, I can also say that for the security levels, we still the discussion needs for the GraphQL actually.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. I think we have a question from Pawan as well. He says, is it possible to create a fully functional Magento app using GraphQL?
Okay, Pawan, we can, okay, because Magento by default is already released a lot of GraphQL schema, but as I just now said, okay, fully functioning, that means we have concern about the security level as well. But yeah, it is possible to create a fully functional app.
Okay, great. I think Vishal also has a question. Veer, can you read it out?
Okay, so Vishal asks, currently limitation of GraphQL compares to REST APIs. For example, you said file upload. What's others? Okay, as I told, okay, in the depth actually, okay. So we need a lot of data in the depth. Suppose someone asks that I need an author, ABCD, and this page and this line actually. Okay, the depth of this query is too huge actually. Okay, and when we go with this GraphQL, it is very high resourcing to fetch those data and send it to the result. So in such cases, GraphQL fails. So that is a major disadvantage for the GraphQL. Okay, for the limited data, that's fine that we can use a GraphQL, but very high resourcing requests, that's a GraphQL fails. This is other, you can say, disadvantage for this one. And the caching, regarding the caching, you can see many requests go as a guest request. Those are cached, but even the GraphQL itself is the front-end languages. It's ask the queries, right? So query can be anything. So that may be cache a lot of data. So this is a second disadvantage for GraphQL, that caching should be handled at the server level itself only. There's one other question from the Smeta. Can we use a same GraphQL to lose iOS and Android app instead of APIs? Any securities issues there in productions actually? Okay, we can, yes. So that's why the GraphQL actually comes in picture. Okay, that it can support different platforms. We can use an iOS, Androids, or any kind of desktop applications. We can use a GraphQL. Okay, and security issues, yeah, just fetching the GraphQLs, it's good, but as I told, that injection, there might be some injections happens into the GraphQL queries level. that can be a security level issue goes on this one. And I believe on productions, it's not. I recommend that in productions you cannot go to GraphQL actually with the fully functioning over there.
Okay, Veer, thank you so much for your presentation and answering the queries. I think Barnet has also joined us and he has been patiently waiting for his turn. So, Barnet, we will be taking a 5-minute break and then we will resume for your presentation. Is that okay?
That is fine. Not an issue at all.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I can see one last question, I think. GraphQL is working with the problem. Yes, yes. GraphQL working with the seven pod as well.
So basically, GraphQL is recommended only for front-end or for storefront queries. Basically, anything that you need to run your front-end store. But if you want to integrate with ERPs or like order management systems and things like that, it is still recommended that you use REST APIs.
So that is around maybe 5 to 10 years from now, we will be saying that we can use GraphQL in ERPs and handling large.
No, actually, GraphQL is recommended. The whole purpose was for having public APIs. Okay,
Yes,
so
correct. Right now, it's not optimized at that. The queries are not that optimized that we can use to handle large data, right?
yeah.
Correct.
So GraphQL is not really the issue. It is like the implementation that Magento has done right now. And they are constantly working on fixing the N+1 issues, or what Virbhadra was telling about the nested queries, right? So those are getting fixed as we speak, and every release, the GraphQL endpoints are getting much faster.
Yes, correct. And there is also a new GraphQL engine, I think, that is in progress for Magento. So we will see new things coming in.
Okay. Okay, great. I think we can take a 5-minute break and then we will resume with Barnett's presentation on SWAT, or the site-wide analysis tool.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Next up, we have Barnet Hellman. He joins us all the way from Texas, and at this point of time, I think it's 5 o'clock for him there. So he woke up quite early for us and giving us this presentation. We really appreciate that. So a little bit about Barnet. He has over 35 plus years of experience doing application software development plus infrastructure design. Currently, he works for Adobe Magento for the last 2.5 years, and he is the product owner, the chief designer, and the SME, or subject matter expert, on SWAT, which is known for site-wide analysis tool. And he is with us today to give us an introduction on this tool and help us understand what it can do for us and how it can ease the pain of managing Magento applications and monitoring. Barnet, on to you. I'll stop sharing my screen. And
All right. Hopefully you all can hear me right now.
Yes, we
Yes?
can. Yeah, we can.
Okay, and let me do a present.
So on the right-hand side corner, you should see present now.
And how do I just, okay, so
just
let me
click on it and
Yep.
you should see entire screen or a window.
All right, 1 second. Let me just get this going. There we go. All right. Oops. Present now. Present my screen. And this one. And share. There we go. All right. Let me know when you can see it.
It's loading. Yes, we can see your screen.
Excellent. All right. As it was said, it's a little past 5 o'clock in the morning to me. Got up, had my coffee, or in the process, and thank you all for having me with your Meet Magento conference. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. I am Barnet Hellman. I'm a senior manager with the Magento Customer Engineering at Adobe. In that capacity, I've been prior resolution manager, where we actually worked with customers trying to fix their e-commerce sites to make sure that they were performant, they were available, they were functioning, and they had security. And prior to that, I worked in global operations, and I was basically the interface between the engineering team and the operations team for the infrastructure management of the Commerce Cloud environment. It's pretty close to 3 years. I'm 15 days away from 3 years at Magento. I've been 35 years plus in technology over my career. And then you can see the rest of it. I will PDF this presentation and send it out after to the leaders, and then you'll be able to get this from them. So we're going to do this presentation in 3 parts. I'm going to go through an overview, just try to cruise through this PowerPoint deck. Not everybody loves listening to PowerPoints or seeing them. Then I'll actually get into a live demo, and I'm actually going to use our own cloud sandbox environment. And just so you're aware of, our sandbox environment is not perfect. It's purposely not perfect so we can test this tool on our own. And then we'll hopefully have time for Q&A thereafter. If you do have questions, please post so that we can all see them, and I will attempt to get to them during the presentation itself. So let's get going here. All right, the expectations about this presentation. Bottom line, the tool itself, the site-wide analysis tool, we actually offer real-time monitoring of currently the cloud commerce environments, and I will get into what that specifically means throughout this presentation. We offer site-wide insights, and they're crucial to making sure that your site is available and performant. The aim is to get an understanding of this tool, and then there's various learning objectives, and I will give you just a couple seconds here to take a look through them. What SWAT means, what's the purpose? We'll explain the what, the how, the why, and yes, there's 2 whats. How to get to this tool from this newest release of Magento, and then be able to use the tool to identify and fix issues. So, what is this tool? It's Magento's deepening commitment to continue to drive initiatives for the customer. Bottom line is we want our customers and our partners to be successful with the Magento tool. 2 years ago, this coming May, I sat with a bunch of developing engineers, and we came up with this idea. We built some scripts. From those scripts, we built an internal use dashboard that over those almost 2 years, we helped near 150 clients and partners fix issues on their sites. At the end of this retrospective, we actually built the dashboard that I'll show you here shortly, and have executive support all the way up through the executive vice president level now to keep this tool up to date, active, and give it to as many customers as possible. Magento wants you to be successful. So what is this thing? Bottom line, it's a dashboard. It's going to show you information. The areas that this tool focuses on is performance, functionality, availability, and security. And you will see what I mean as I drive through this part of the presentation. We offer proactive self-service recommendations. And again, you will see how these recommendations are self-service, that you can take these recommendations that we give you and actually apply them to your site. And the last thing you need to know is this service is always on. This tool runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. We are sampling and analyzing sites. So, high overview, it's a dashboard. It's a single pane of glass. And by that I mean we are scouring all of the Adobe as well as your site, bringing all this information into one clear, concise place. And we're offering information that is self-service. You can fix and adjust your site as needed. So it's basically site information, a little bit of analysis, and a little bit of instrumentation. So what, how, why, and yep, a second what. And I will show you what this is all about now. So how does it work? It's an aggregation utility. We are pulling data from all over the corporation. Right here, what you see are just samples of the area that we're pulling. We take this data by customer specific and pull it in, run it through our scripting environment, and then on that, we present it onto a dashboard. The dashboard's accessible internally by any Adobe employee, all 22 or 23,000 of us around the world, as long as you're in the SWAT security group. And right now we have up over 1,000 people in that group. So we have 1,000 people around the world using this tool internally already. This tool is accessible, and I will show you this during the demo, real time by you, the customer, by you, the partner, on version 2.4.1 and above. Versions under that, if you get a hold of your CSM or you put a request in this through the support desk ticket system, a PDF report that is, can be generated and attached to that ticket so you can see exactly what we're seeing. There will be no backporting to any previous version. So, why does it work? Well, we augment customer self-service for site-specific findings. We want you, the customer, to be able to fix things. Rather than waiting on a Magento engineer or a partner engineer or the partner in conjunction with the customer, you can fix all of this stuff that we find. It's an individual dashboard. Each site is unique. We offer the best practice resolutions, and we also have links to online services, whether it's the dev docs, the KB articles, community blogs, whatever it takes to get the correct answer. We do real-time updates. This site is refreshed. We have a refresh rate right now of all of Commerce Cloud's customers of every 3 hours. Over the next few months, we are going to tune that down to about every 30 minutes. It's basically a continuous point in analysis. It's iterative. We just take samplings and we analyze those samplings. And the question I always get is, are you affecting the performance of our site? The answer is no. We have worked with not only the SWAT and developing engineers, but we've also worked with the core engineering and the performance teams to perfect how we grab data to have zero effect on your site. End-to-end diagnostics. Initially, we started with application. We now are able to start analyzing parts of the infrastructure. And as we get a little bit more proficient with our development of scripts, we'll be able to get into a little bit more about the infrastructure itself. And the application itself is PCI compliant. We have passed every single compliance audit that Adobe has thrown at our tool. We just got through a penetration test. Yesterday, we picked up 3 findings that they classify as non-critical, and they'll be fixed next week. So here's the other what. What are the tabs that I'm going to be showing you? First is an overall dashboard. It's just a generic health overview of what your site looks like. There's an information tab. On it, we have dynamic data. Dynamic data is data that the customer can change at will or as their site changes. We have a recommendations tab. Currently, we have over 80 issue checks, P0 being critical, which means your site's going to have issues very shortly, to P4. They're notifications that when your team has time, you should look at these. They may or may not make sense to fix them, but we see this on your site. And they're presented by a finding, what the issue is, what the root cause is, particularly what the site impact is. Is there any condition that you must do before fixing this finding, and what your expected results should be? But the whole, the whole thing that everybody wants, the actual point of this tool is the actual recommendation. It's best practices explained and how to implement them, as well as links to the documentation. And again, it's the dev docs, the knowledge base articles, the community blogs, the internal blogs, that we give you information or more detail on what the recommendation means. We have an an exceptions tab, where we list out log file errors that we are seeing, how often they occur across a 30 to 60 day period, and their counts. We analyze extensions. We analyze not only the extension, but we've expanded over the last few months to actually include third-party libraries. Currently, we're picking up versions, support dates. Support dates is it actually you don't have the latest version and it's out of support. And the big one here is installed versus enabled. During our 2-year history, we have seen many customers, many partners install extensions and libraries, but they're never enabled. Hence, disk space is being used, as well as potentially resources that could be better used for your site itself. We've integrated Magento managed alerts, which are the new Relic alerts, and I would highly recommend that you sign up for these alerts. You can actually sign up for the Magento managed alerts independently of this tool, and you will get email notifications. We have taken these notifications in the form of JSONs and actually display them up on our site for you as well. We've also integrated the Magento quality patch tool. Based on the version of the Magento application that you are currently running, we divide these patches into 3 sections. Required, which you should get this patch on immediately. A custom patch where under certain conditions this anomaly will occur and the anomalies are explained in the custom. And then optional, and the optionals are big. You will see more optionals than anything else. And what that means is, if your business has a particular way it processes data, or it has a specific workflow, or it's the way you set up the site, you can read through the actual designations of the optional patches and say, oh, our business is doing this, let's get this installed. And then lastly, currently this is an internal use. We have outage information. We are still perfecting this and still being able to collect data. If your site experiences slowness as based on our internal systems that your site is slowing down, or you have a physical outage, we have come up with a way that we can collect data about your site, analyze it, and figure out why your site was slow or why your site went down. Once this is finally completed over the next few months, we will let parts of this out to you, the customer, and the partners. So, the portal itself. Currently, we analyze production and we analyze staging environments. We just implemented staging literally last week for pro and starter accounts, and you must be on version 2.4.1 or higher I believe .2 is coming out sometime next month. This is the Magento admin panel. As you can see, over here on the left, you will see reports. Under the reports tab, you will see a new selection called System Insights. Under that, you will see Site-Wide Analysis Tool. By clicking on this, if you're authorized, and by authorized, you must have a new role added to your admin status by the superadmin or the account owner. And the role is called SWAT. And it can be delegated to any admin or not given at all. If you have this role, you will be able to get in to this dashboard, and we're going to go through all of these tabs here very shortly. So to be clear, 2.4.1 and higher, excuse me, you must have the role of SWAT as an admin to access this. If you do not have that, you will get a 403 error saying that you're not authorized. And I will show you that in just a moment as well during the live demo. Reports and training. We actually have a PDF, and this is how the original tool started, that we would produce PDF reports. Parts of the reports is an introduction. It actually does some analysis and throws that information there. And then the actual recommendation, what we found, what the results are, and then information about the impact and or the root causes. This report is embedded into this new version on the dashboard. Those that have access to this dashboard can actually run the static report and distribute it anywhere they want to. It's a PDF that, just like other objects, you just save to your desktop or save out to a folder. We also have training videos. Currently, we've just developed 3. We're in the process of developing more. These 3 all reference what the report is and how to use it. You must be authorized to Zendesk or the Magento support desk, the support desk ticket system to be able to get these. If you just search, once you sign on, search on SWAT or SWAT report, you'll be able to get and see these. These are 1 to 3 minute videos. They're overviews and detailed explanations of what this report is. The future training videos are actually going to go into heavy detail about the UI that I will show you during our demonstration. Okay. Track checking time. Our roadmap, just so everybody sees, in September we started going live with our tool. We have monthly auto-delivered reports based on a health index. Every site is assigned a health index. Any site that is 20 out of 100 or below automatically gets a report delivered through the support desk ticket system. You are notified that a report is sitting there. As sites become more proficient, that number will be raised. In October, we did a lot of work right before the retail season started. We had the integration to 2.4.1 plus, the quality patch tool, and the managed alerts that I told you about, and then finally, like I said, the staging environments. And whether you have 1 staging environment or in some cases 5, we analyze every single one of them. You will need to be in that specific environment on 2.4.1 or higher to get to that specific SWOT analysis. So if you're in dedicated staging, you will be able to see the dedicated staging SWOT dashboard. If you're in production, you will see the production dashboard. You cannot switch between them. You must start at the Magento admin panel for that environment. This is specifically done as a security feature. What our future entails? We're building a historical database. Currently, right now, as we build it, it'll be internal. Our future plans are to expose this to the customer base at large. What this will allow you is to see a time series or over time how your site is doing based on your deployments and based on the increase, whoops, what happened to my screen there? There. Based on the increase of issue checks that we do, we keep building issue checks. As you probably saw before, we have 80 plus built. Our target by April is to be well up over 100 to 120 checks. And checks start at version 2.0.0 and continue as new releases come out. We script more checks. Q1, Q2, we are building an on-premise client agent. On-premise customers will be able to download this agent, install it, and it will start pushing data to our SWAT tool. And once the on-premise customers on 2.4.1 or higher, they will be able to get at this SWAT dashboard themselves. We'll also be integrating the security scan and SendGrid into this product. The security scan will show the vulnerabilities with a direct link to the entire report. We will just show snippets of the most egregious or the worst security scan errors for that site, display them. Here's the link. Go read the entire report. SendGrid information, we will be getting what's your credits, what credits have used, and the reputation scores. And then finally, sometime in Q2, and again, these are 3-month buckets, we are going to start using these SWAT recommendations based on meta tags to auto respond to support desk tickets. SWAT will respond, put the correct recommendation in, and then put the ticket into pending, waiting on the customer or the partner to reply if that helped or not. So, why am I presenting this? The business case. The tool itself, proactive, strategic, and diagnostic. This tool will help you get your site performant, functional, available, and show you security issues that need to be taken care of. We are presenting it all on a single pane of glass. It's all in one area, so you can see everything about your site instead of having to go poke around. For real-time online access, again, 2.4.1. If you're not there, I highly suggest that sometime before June, July of this year, get a project together, get your site up to this version. It's automatic access to SWAT. And the one thing that I tell everybody, there's no fee for this. This is part of Magento application. You get this tool no matter what, as long as you're on 2.4.1, you have access. Anything below that, please get with your CSM or put in a support desk ticket saying you want this. And we're monitoring and we're watching 24 hours a day. It's built for site alignment and site improvement. We present best known practices to you, how to fix your site. We show a load, we expose patches that you need, that we've built that you need for your site. And we're displaying exceptions that you need to take a look at your front end or your custom code and say, why am I throwing this extension? And also exception, and what extensions do I need to upgrade? And lastly, and this is the reason why we're all here, the visitor and the user experience. We optimize site stability, offering superior site experience. Everybody knows that if a site's working, customers love it, they're going to keep coming back. If a customer has a bad experience on your site, they most likely won't come back. This tool is going to help you fix the visitor and user experience. And with that, thank you for attending this section of the presentation. I will get on to the demo, then to a Q&A area. Hopefully we have time. And if you need more information, if you want a deeper dive, if you're a customer or if you're a partner, you want one-on-one time, I'm giving you my email address. This is me. Remember, it's 1 T in my first name, Barnet. Email me. Ask me when I'm available. Ask when the team's available. Make sure you copy your CSM or your customer success manager, so they know that you're asking. They will help coordinate meetings with me and or the team. And with that, let me get out of here and let me get up to here. I'll make this a little bit bigger. All right. So, as I stated, everybody knows what this is. This is the Magento admin panel. Down here, you will see a button called Reports. Oh, and just for reference, this is my SWAT sandbox that I'm showing you. The reports, right here, System Insights, Site-Wide Analysis Tool. You click on this button. If you are not authorized, you will get this screen right here. Error 403, access not allowed. It means that you need to go talk to your account owner and request access. Access is not, and I will say this again, access is not automatically given to anyone. It must be granted internally by the customer account owner. This is a security concern. The customer owner must grant you access to get into the workings of your site. Just much like they make you an admin. By clicking on this link, you will get, of course, you will get this. I forgot to sign in this morning. 1 second. Give me just 1 second, folks. This is a good thing. This is 2FA working the way it should. Let me get my code. And they're one-time use codes, so no need to memorize it. So let's start this again. All right, reports, site-wide analysis. You will get this screen. This is our splash screen, courtesy of the Adobe and Magento legal department. It shows the collaborative effort between Magento, the customer, and any third-party agent, whether it's a partner, an SI, a consultant, etc. And then basically, like every good software product, the acceptance of terms and use. Clicking accept takes you into the SWAT tool. Clicking cancel takes you back to the admin panel. We're going to accept, and this is what you get here. You will see this is the main dashboard. You will see, yes, we have a good health index. You will see a notification area. Excuse me. These notification areas are information sent directly from the dev engineers. If they want somebody to know something, there's a new vulnerability discovered on the internet, or we see a problem with your site, you will see notifications here. The bottom line is basically an analysis of your site. Most sites will see a smooth or gentle curve like what's in the middle. Over here on the right, where it's up and down, much like a yo-yo, this is me and or the devs testing deployments. And in some cases, we're testing 5, 6, 7, 10 times a day. We're deploying purposely bad code to make sure that this tool is working right. So you will see in October, when we started making this tool live with 2.4.1, we are constantly beating up our site to make sure that the site's performant, to make sure that the issue checks are working, to make sure it's displaying information. Excuse me. You will see a list of the errors here. P0 critical, your site's about to crash. You will see we have 1 right now. All the way down to P4, as I stated. If you have time, take a look at it. The information tab next. It tells you a little bit of information about the site. You'll see that our site's based out of Los Angeles. You will see the owner. That's one of my dev engineers who actually owns it. You will see our contact, and again, it's just, we put a name just for grins and laughters. And then you will see access to the Zendesk ticket itself. If you click on this URL, you will see your Zendesk tickets. If you go to the commerce section, you will see information about your site. A little bit about the version that you're on, inventory, if you have an OMS connector. If you have OMS connector, for those that don't know, that means that you're using the Magento order management system. You will see all your project URLs here. Right now we have 2. If you have 20, we will list all 20. You will see information about our products and categories here. You will also see right here the tech stack. You will see that all our statuses are active. If you are end of life or nearing end of life, you will see a different status. For example, if you have a Elasticsearch that has not been updated recently, end of life, that active button will say EOL, end of life, and it'll be in red. If within 60 days a product is going to go end of life, you will see the status called ending, and that feature will be in orange, letting you know, here's a warning, you're about to go end of life. Recommendations. Right now, we just have one, but if you had more, every single one of these would list out from anywhere from 1, and there is no limit. I've seen sites that have 20 and 30. In this particular case, we have a cache add invalidation issue. We will show you the cache type, and you can click here and get to your download traces. These traces currently are available from 7 days forward. So on the 16th, these traces will disappear on the 23rd of January. And the reason that we only keep them from that short period of time is because of the vast amount of data that is displayed. If it continues, it will just keep refreshing, and you will see these traces all the time. So this is the error. Here's the recommendation. We actually tell you how to fix this error. These links here are actual links to documentation, whether it is DevDocs, the Magento knowledge base, excuse me, the community information, the blogs, whatever is the correct and best known fix, we display it. And these issues are constantly being reviewed by the performance engineering team. We have a great cross-functional relationship with them, and they actually provide us information on what issue checks they want this team to work on at any given time. You may see notes here. Please pay attention to them. You will see in most cases root causes, and you will see down here, how did we grab this information? The tool used, CLI, and that command line interface. We have one exception here. And again, by clicking on them, if you had multiple, you can click on any one. You will see that this one is from just about a month ago. It happened just twice. There's the count. We cannot load static content. We purposely blew up our media section just to see if we could pull exceptions. This is how we test things. We keep blowing up our own site before we put it out to you. Extensions. We have 19 extensions installed. You will see the extension, what version of the extension, are you on the latest version, and any information over on the right about the extension. You will see right here, Fastly CDN. We are out of compliance. We just need to install or upgrade to the latest version of this. And this is what it displays. If you click on one, you will be able to see when we installed it. Now, the one thing I did say, if y'all remember, is installed versus enabled. You will see down here at the bottom, right here, that I've highlighted. We have actually enabled this. If you see no, it means that this extension or third-party library exists on your system and you're not using it. Couple things, disk space and many extensions, many libraries are actually active in the background, just not enabled, and they're using resources of your system. If things are not enabled, this is a business decision. Please get with your business owners. Do you need it? If not, remove it. If you do need it, get it enabled and get it updated. You will see alerts here. Right now, thank God, we don't have any alerts, but let's just say, for example, that we were going to run out of memory. Excuse me. It will show us what the memory is going to be or what the CPU usage is. And let me just pop this in so you have an idea of what it looks like. This is what the screen looks like. We tell you the alert name, when it actually opened, when did we see this alert happen, the status, have you closed it, have you fixed it, and any incident information about that status right here on the right. So you can actually go in and manage this alert and fix it. And the last one here, patches. As I said, there are 3 types: required, custom, and optional. We have many optionals. I actually need to go through and start reading these things to see what ones I need on our site. But you will see the description. This one here, fixes issue where layer navigation doesn't filter configurable products. And you can look, do I use this in our environment? We actually have steps and additional detail, information about how to apply the patch, and as well links to the MQP tool, the Magento Quality Patch tool. Right here and also at the top, you can see any information about the tool itself. Basically, it says the Quality Patch tool is on version 1.0.7, and we're behind on the latest. We should be on 13. We recommend that you update, and right here is how you update it. In the future, as we work on it, you will see a new tab to the right. It will say security. And this is where we're going to be showing you security vulnerabilities about your product and the actual links to the physical detailed report so you can look and see what has been breached and what you need to fix immediately. One thing that I need to show you is right here, this button, Generate Report. By clicking on the Generate Report, you can actually generate the PDF in any form or fashion that you want to generate it. You can download right here. Those externally, because I'm inside the Adobe network, I have an extra button that I can actually send this to a support desk ticket, but you will see this download button, and it physically creates a PDF report. Cancel. Other information that you see, you will see here up on the, I should have mentioned this to begin with, but you will see SWAT Cloud Sandbox account. If it is a staging environment, to the right you will see in brackets the word staging or dedicated staging. You will also see over here on the right hand side who's signed on. That's me. And this little button right here, these 3 dots, I tell everybody it looks like a robot. By clicking on it, you will get a feedback window. This comes directly to my inbox. This is a direct path to ask me questions. It goes to myself and the actual development manager that actually runs the SWAT development team. Cancel that. So, I highly recommend that you use this tool. Like I said, it's going to show you all sorts of issues that that will help your site be performant. One of the last things that I want to show you here is in a future release in the next coming months, and let me just make this a little bit bigger so you all can see it. We will actually be displaying the actual codes inside. You will see another tab called About. And on the About tab, you will see all the issue checks and what it's going to affect and the rating, P0 to P4. You will see some of these are inactive. It means that we are working on them, or somebody told us there was a problem and we are refactoring them to make sure that we give you accurate results. These ones here that I do want to tell you about, these three, DDoS analysis, deadlocks, and deferred stock check. Excuse me, these two rather. These two here, we are working with New Relic to come up with a script that we can actually show you if you're having a DDoS bot attack. We are going to make this up there as one of the criticals. We'll be able to analyze your New Relic data. Again, out of New Relic, are you having deadlocks? Are certain features blocking other features? And again, it's a New Relic interface, and we're working with them to get this developed. We're actually working with their L2 engineering team right now. And you will see all these 80 issues right here. And we will be displaying this for your view. This way you will have complete transparency on what we're actually looking for on your site. With that, I will conclude and ask if there are any questions, please either in the chat or speak up.
Yeah, hi Barnet. I actually had aggregated some questions before the presentation actually started, or when I announced that the presentation would be happening. But it seems that in your presentation you answered most of the questions. So there were questions around like, is it available for on-prem solutions? And you said that it would be in the Q1 release, right?
Yes, so let me tell you what's going to happen with this. We have 4 permanent developers, and then I borrow developers out of the core and cloud engineering staffs. We went through a hackathon in December where the permanent SWAT development team built a prototype of the client agent. They are actually taking the client agent apart right now with the help of some of the engineers, other engineers. We are refactoring it, and we will start testing it most likely the mid of March. And we are tentatively looking for a GA or general availability in April of this year. The reason why me as the product owner is pushing so hard is that Magento starts its high season or retail season analysis in June every year, getting ready for October, November, December. So we start months before everybody else. We want to be able to give on-prem customers a minimum of 2 to 4 months to be able to look at this data and fix whatever they need to fix and or upgrade to this 2.4.1 release, or excuse me, 2.4.1 or higher release. So yes, it's coming, and once it's finished, the communication will be coming out of the CSG, or the customer success group, that you all get communications from them. That communication will go out. I am constantly working with them. The minute it goes to GA, there'll be a blast around the world saying, here's this tool, here's the agent, here's how you download it, here's how you install it. Okay.
The other question that I had was regarding giving this as a service, subscription service for community Magento. So I think like this project is right now focused on Commerce Cloud and Magento Commerce. Do we have any plans for community and then having it as like a subscription product to the community service?
All right, so correct that we started with our Commerce Cloud environment. The reason is, since it's the Magento environment, it was easiest to sample data. The next, as you stated, is the on-prem customer coming out March, April timeframe. The community environment or the open source environment, that is sitting with the product team, and I get direction from them. Yes, they'd like to do it. No, I do not have an ETA when they would like to do it. And that will take another development effort to create an agent for them. However, what you stated as a subscription, it's being talked about. I just don't have a good answer for you at this moment in time.
Okay, got it. And
Mhm.
the final question, there were other, but you already answered them. The final question was around support for PWA applications. So as Magento is slowly moving towards like headless implementations, is there any plans of like helping monitor the PWA application as well alongside Magento?
Yes, there are plans. For those of you that know him or have spoken with him, Eric Airway, who's one of the senior managers like myself in the company, is
Yes.
responsible for the PWA. I am working closely with his team, and we talked to Eric and his team this past October and told them that we would like to start monitoring PWA. At the time, there was no way for them or us to do it. However, that said, Eric has it on his roadmap, and they are working with PWA developers to figure out how can we monitor use of PWA, what errors, what issues should we be monitoring, and then lastly, how would we display that information up on the dashboard? So as more information is developed, I will get direction and guidance from Eric and his team. At right now, at this point in time, there is no plans other than it's a roadmap item to be discussed once the new release of PWA comes out very shortly.
Okay, got it. And
Yeah, and just so everybody's clear that's on the call, we are working to make sure that we can analyze every bit of your technology stack, whether it's the application tech stack or the infrastructure tech stack. We want to be able to provide insights to all the customers, all the partners, so they can see issues before they actually become problems. So this is, for example, the PWA is one of them that we are looking into at this moment.
okay, great. And then the final question is around
Mm-hmm.
cron job monitoring. Will
Yep.
this be something that would be added in the SWOT analysis tool, or is it something we should be looking into New Relic for that?
Actually, both. This has come up as the ECE tools have evolved and gotten into, as everybody loves, the autocrons. We had developed a cron analysis, and we have marked it inactive, and we are working with New Relic and the performance team as a more or less a co-joined effort to figure out what do we monitor, how do we monitor, and then how do we display it back to you. There are certain cron features that we've left in. For example, if you miss more than 10% of your cron jobs, we note that inside SWAT and we tell you why. Anything more than 10, 11%, it means that your site's not being updated on a regular basis, which means there are errors, whether the cron job is having collisions, whether the cron itself is broken, whether the things it's trying to fix are broken, etc. So we have an overarching monitoring that, again, if your cron job is more than 10%, we tell you there's an error, and we actually tell you what jobs are failing or what jobs are causing issues. The next step is to analyze why these jobs are having problems and make recommendations about specific jobs. And that is, again, a concerted, a coordinated effort with New Relic as well as the engineering teams internally. These are all great questions. And if anybody on this call has ideas for any new check that they'd like us to build, you can use that little 3-button thing if you have access real time. Right, where is it here? Oops, let me roll up this little thing that looks like a robot to me. Or, again, you can message me right here at barnet@adobe.com, and I do reply. Just know that I'm 12 plus hours behind you all. It's little past 6 o'clock in the morning to me. The sun's not even out yet. But if you have questions, please send them to me. I'll sit, and if I don't know the answer immediately, I have resources all over this company. I will get answers for you. That is my job as the product owner, the subject matter expert.
That is fantastic. I think that's all the questions that I was able to collect from the community. Anybody on the call has any additional question, just speak up, or you can put it in the chat box. I'm just checking.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat box. Well, it means that A, I did a good job, or B, they understand the tool and know how to use it. And again, I just want to make sure that everybody's understanding. This tool is for 4 pillars of your site: performance, availability, functionality, and security. We actually do test 2FA interfaces on your site itself. Please, if you're not on 2.4.1 or higher and don't have direct access into the online dashboard, please get with your CSMs. Please get with support desk tickets and just request a point-in-time SWAT report. They are easily generated, and they are literally attached to your support desk ticket that you can actually see what we're seeing. This dashboard is literally put into a PDF for y'all.
Okay. Thank you, Barnet, so much for giving us such a detailed description on the tool. The tool truly looks awesome. And
thank you.
hopefully the people who are not on Magento Cloud would get a chance shortly to get their hands on it as well.
Well, yes, March, April, look for a communication. That's the time frame we're looking for. We want all our on-prem customers up on this thing, and I will take the open source or community and bring that back to the product team and says, tell them, hey, you guys need to come up with a solution so we can build it.
Okay. And another question that I had, sorry,
Yeah.
again.
It's fine.
Yeah. So for the on-prem solution, would there be an extended license or included in the commerce license itself?
It's the tool itself, the site-wide analysis tool, is included in the paid subscription for Magento. Okay. It is free with anybody that has the Magento app and is paying for it through licensing.
Oh, okay.
There is no fee. So as we make the tool better, augment the tool, expand into other areas with the tool, you will get all of those features automatically. And from the customer success groups, you will get notifications every quarter on what features have been added to the tool itself.
Oh, okay. That's fantastic. I think that's all the questions that I had. Thank you so much for your detailed presentation. This was quite a good insight into the tool. And let's see how it goes.
Yep, and what I'll do is I will PDF the presentation and I will send it to you via email. If anybody wants it, they're more than welcome to have it.
If you can upload it on SlideShare and send me a link, I would be happy to share it with the community.
Oh, I can do that as well. Will do.
Yeah, that would be perfect. And just a note to everybody else, Barnet will also be talking in Meet Magento India, which I think is happening on 4th of Feb, if I'm not wrong.
That is correct. 4th of February, yes.
Yeah, so the tickets are free, so everybody here can just go and register themselves and get a chance to see what Barnet has to offer there as an extra information.
Well, we have between now and then, we'll have 2 deployments. So I am trusting the developers to make sure everything works right,
Mhm.
and the quality engineers, and I'll have more to discuss.
Oh,
Each
that's perfect.
presentation I do is unique. I have to keep rebuilding it for every conference I do.
Oh, okay. That's perfect.
All right, thank you again for having me. I appreciate this, and it help anything I can do to help make your site better, the user experience better. Please let me know. That's literally my job. How do I make customer sites better? So again, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for waking up so early for us.
Yes. I will go have another cup of coffee and have a good day.
Okay.
All
Same.
right, y'all. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. And everybody else, thank you for joining us and have a great evening. Bye bye.
Bye now.
Bye.